Think about this. 10,000 years ago, a small group of humans emerges from the mouth of a limestone cave. But something feels wrong. There are no walls, no doors, no safety. Some scan the horizon for movement. Others gather wood to keep the fire alive, because that fire is the only thing standing between them and what's out there. And then you realize you are one of them. So what did life actually look like when survival wasn't a task, but every second of the day? Because the truth is, the image of cavemen fighting mammoths misses something much deeper. The sun rises, and your day begins. Not because of an alarm, but because light is your only clock. The fire from last night is barely alive. And that matters more than anything, because starting fire from nothing is incredibly difficult. So instead, you protect it, feed it, carry it if needed. Because losing fire could mean losing everything. Warmth, food, protection. Without it, the night becomes dangerous. Now the group begins to move, not randomly, but with purpose. Because today, one mistake means no food, and no food means no tomorrow. Some scan the ground for tracks. Others search for plants, roots, berries, seeds. Because here's something most people don't realize. Hunting wasn't reliable. It was risky, unpredictable, sometimes deadly. So most of the time, people gathered. And that required something incredible: knowledge. Hundreds of plants. Which ones are safe? Which ones are poisonous? Which ones heal? Which ones kill? This wasn't guessing. It was knowledge built over generations. But when hunting worked, everything changed. Because bringing down a large animal meant survival for days. But it wasn't about strength. It was about strategy. Tracking footprints, reading broken branches, understanding behavior, sometimes chasing animals for hours until they collapsed. Not overpowering, but outlasting. But here's what most people don't expect. Even with all that effort, hunting often failed. Days could pass with nothing. No food, no success. And that changes everything, because survival was never guaranteed. By midday, the body slows down. Energy drops. This is when the work shifts. Food is prepared. Meat is cut. Plants are processed. And tools are repaired. Because tools are everything. A dull edge can mean failure. So stone tools are sharpened carefully, not quickly, but with precision. Because making a new one takes time, skill, focus. And these tools weren't random. They show planning, design, even symmetry, which means these people weren't just reacting. They were thinking ahead. Now imagine the world around you. No roads, no cities, no protection, just open land and constant danger. Predators, changing weather, uncertainty. At night, you don't sleep deeply. You can't, because every sound matters. Every movement matters. Because you are not at the top of the food chain. You are part of it. Because in this world, you don't get a second chance. You either learn fast or you don't survive. As the sun begins to set, something shifts. The group gathers around the fire. And this moment is more important than it seems. Because this is where knowledge is shared. Stories are told.
Long ago, our people roamed these lands, hunting great beasts. We faced storms and beasts, but together we survived and thrived. This is our story.
Lessons are passed on. This is how people learn. Not through books, but through memory, through experience, through connection, and then something unexpected. Art, deep inside caves, far from sunlight. Humans painted animals, symbols, shapes, with detail, with intention. But then, archaeologists discovered something strange. Some of these paintings were created deep inside caves, in complete darkness. No natural light, which means they carried fire just to create something that no one would see every day. Why? Because survival wasn't the only thing that mattered. Meaning did too. Music existed too. Simple instruments, bone flutes, rhythms, sounds. Not for survival, but for connection, for expression. And here's something even more powerful. They took care of each other. And then one discovery changed everything. Human bones, with severe injuries that had healed. Broken limbs, serious damage. And yet, they survived for years. Which means someone stayed, someone helped, someone cared. So this wasn't a world of isolation. It was a world of cooperation. Groups were small, 20 to 30 people, but they weren't alone. They met other groups, shared resources, exchanged knowledge, built connections. This was early society. And then winter arrives, and everything becomes harder. Food becomes scarce. The cold becomes dangerous. Mistakes become deadly. This is where planning matters most. Food must be stored. Shelters must be strong. Clothing must work. Because if you fail to prepare, you don't survive. But here's the most important part. Humans lived like this for over 99% of their history. Not as a struggle, but as a system that worked. They adapted. They survived extreme climates. They spread across the planet. Without modern tools, without technology, without civilization. So maybe the real question isn't, how did they survive? Maybe it's, how would we survive in their world? No supermarkets, no electricity, no backup, just knowledge, skill, awareness. Because in their world, you couldn't disconnect. You had to understand everything. The land, the animals, the weather, each other. And maybe that's what we've lost. Not intelligence, but connection to nature, to reality, to survival itself. Because those humans weren't primitive. They were skilled, aware, adaptable, and in many ways, more capable than we are today. So the next time you imagine a caveman, don't picture a brute. Picture someone who could track animals across miles, identify hundreds of plants, build tools from stone, survive extreme environments, and still create art. Because they didn't just survive, they mastered their world. And maybe the real question is, if everything we rely on today disappeared, could we do the same? If this changed the way you see human history, subscribe. Because the deeper you look into the past, the more you realize we don't fully understand ourselves.